We're all set. We're good.
Quorum.
Oh, yay.
I want to start with that. Oh,
I also didn't know until I arrived.
okay.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're all set. We're recording and we've got a couple folks on.
I'm going to call to order the school board meeting of October 6th. If everyone can join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Public comments. No agenda review? No?
You know the meeting so well.
Yeah.
Kimberly Black Meeting House Hill. I just wanted, I'm a little bit concerned about hearing that there's not enough room or enough time for Parks and Rec to schedule any basketball practices. I know it's probably out of your hands, but right now I know we're struggling to find places for third and fourth and fifth and sixth graders for Parks and Rec to practice because I guess they've been told that, you know, the weekends are open for the hot shot program, but the kids that need to practice to be able to play games, those slots aren't available. So I was really just hoping that I could encourage anybody here to do what they could to make that a possibility for these kids. And I know it's one gym in one town and time is limited, but any way that we can make some sort of concessions to maybe like double up some of the practices 1 week to try and just get some of these kids some practice time. So it'd be really sad to see them move out of the town sports just because we don't have a place for them to practice. So I'm just hoping that's something we can do to accommodate somebody. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Stacy Marchioni, 53 Meeting House Hill Road. I have two things that I wanted to mention tonight, and they come together in the New Hampshire School Board Association proposed resolutions for 2024. The first thing, and that kind of overarches this in particular issue, is, as I've emailed the board, my request that you publish the documents that you're reviewing in the meeting packet. Attach it to the agenda, put it on the drive, attach it to the minutes when you post the minutes for the meeting, because now there's a lot of discussion, as I emailed, that how do you get people informed of what's going on at the school board? Well, you're actively preventing people from knowing what's going on. Where were people to read the school board resolutions that you were reviewing last week? Nowhere. You didn't publish them. You just said NHSBA resolutions. You didn't publish them with the agenda. You didn't publish them on the drive, and you did not read them word for word at the meeting. You kind of danced around discussing them a little bit, and then you voted on it. And they're not attached to the minutes. So how would we know what resolutions you're discussing? And they're not small resolutions. The one I'm going to read, and that I'm very concerned that you're agreeing with supporting the School Board Association resolution, is regarding keeping secrets from parents as regards teachers and psychologists' communications with kids in school. That is not a minor issue. That is one of the hot button issues in the country right now. And we had no idea you were discussing it. How would anyone in town have known that? Can you tell me? Because there is no way we would have known it. It's not published anywhere. So I'm going to read what you agreed to support at the school board resolution. The NHSBA urges the New Hampshire legislature to repeal all laws that usurp. Is that it? Not the right one. Yes. What is that? Sorry, it's right in front of me. Am I taking the window themselves? NHSBA opposes state laws that require mandatory reporting by teachers and staff to parents and guardians of conversations teachers and staff, including counseling, therapy, and school psychology, have with a student regarding the student's own status as a member of any protected class. The rationale, I'm going to ask for a couple more minutes given how limited your public is here today. The rationale for this being that it's difficult enough to find and retain good teachers and staff, and mandatory reporting of non-criminal issues is a psychological and emotional burden to students and staff, violates confidentiality, and is an affront to professional ethics. It goes on further to say that while recognizing the New Hampshire School Board Association, while recognizing the rights of parents to make decisions about their children, it also gives due consideration and weight to educators' professional judgment and their responsibility under the Code of Ethics. So you went around about this. Alan, you thought that the original resolution was the one to support because it's hard to find teachers. But where are parents getting lost in this whole thing? I mean, you're putting a barrier between parents and their kids in the school. And in terms of the protected class, you're talking about gender issues, you're talking about transgender, you're talking about kids changing their names, changing their pronouns, and having the ability to put a wall between the kids and their parents and keeping that information from parents. And it is absolutely an abomination to do that. There are very rare circumstances where kids are in danger if that information is shared with their parents. That's sometimes an argument that's put forth as to why teachers shouldn't tell parents that they want to change their pronouns. This is inappropriate. I'm asking you to please reconsider your support of this in any way, shape, or form, because it is not your job to build a wall between parents and their kids. It is a horrible thing to do. It should violate every aspect of a professional code of ethics. That is not the job of teachers in this school. It is not. They're here to teach. They are not here to divide parents from their kids. You have to let parents in. That is not okay. That resolution is not okay. So I'm asking you to please think about it, discuss it, reconsider it. I know, Alan, you're going, I think, next week to vote for this. I would like you to have some more conversations about this. And are you interested in what the public feels about this? If you are, then you need to publish these documents. This went very much under the radar in terms of the town of Deerfield knowing that you were putting forth your support to this issue. And if you care about what the town thinks about this, you need to publish it. Okay? If you don't, then you should continue what you're doing and just blazing your own trail regardless of what people in town think. That is entirely inappropriate, and I hope that you'll reconsider it. And I hope you'll also reconsider your policy to not publish any documents that you're reviewing at meetings, because I try to follow you. I want to be informed about what you're doing and what's going on. I'm telling you, and I reach out. How much do I email you? I'm trying to digest the budgets and the policies, but I have to constantly reach out and grab information. It's not there for me to get. It is not there for me to follow at a meeting. So you can't complain that people aren't paying attention, but not give them the documents to look at. It's impossible to know what you're doing when you don't publish the documents and the things that you're sitting here reviewing. You can't follow a discussion, I'm here to tell you. And I'm not a stupid woman, but I have no idea what you're talking about a lot because there's nothing to follow. I hope you will reconsider it. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public comments?
What are you laughing about? I don't only come here to give them hell. I don't only come here to give them
Well,
hell.
no, but you gave me a great intro.
Oh, there
I
you
tell
go.
you.
Maybe I should stay.
No, Errol Road, Church Street. I'm here in part because I think you're going to talk about the budget tonight. And so I have another hat that's the budget committee hat. And so I'm here to do that. I wanted to do it online though. I wanted to follow you online tonight, and it was impossible.
Yeah, it's on the SAU site.
I looked on the SAU site, I looked on the Deerfield site, there is not a button that says, join the meeting.
Oh, I thought you meant follow on the document. The document's posted. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, but I just wanted to listen to what was going on. 'Cause I
It's on the agenda. but-
no, it's, you follow that link, it doesn't go anyplace. It's really difficult. I don't think my ask is as difficult as the prior ask. But could you put a button on the site that makes it easy for people to join the meeting?
So you clicked on, oh, do you want me?
No, go.
I'm sorry. You clicked on the agenda on the link and it
Yeah.
didn't, was it just blank?
No, it went to the historic videos. And when you go to live, nothing. Okay, so it,
It won't be on YouTube.
no marsh
It's
pa.
Google Meets.
Well, no, okay, so it didn't take me to a Google Meets, anything.
May I?
Yes.
On the calendar,
The point that I'm making, excuse me, Mr. Whitney,
it is just a button though.
on what calendar?
So on the SAU, when you go to the SAU site and you go to the Deerfield board, there is a board meeting calendar. And if you click
I
on,
did that, I did that,
and that will bring you right to the agenda.
yeah, and on the agenda, there's a button, I clicked that, I couldn't get on.
Well,
Okay,
The meeting, it doesn't start until 6, so,
We
no,
did it at 6:04. Okay, so,
Oh, but we didn't start until a little later.
Yeah.
We didn't have a quorum, that's why.
well, you're looking
We
pretty
were
thin
waiting
this
for a
evening.
quorum. Yeah, so we actually started a little bit later.
But-
I think it was like 10 after 6 when we.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, so, but there's no
almost
button that
quarter
says,
past, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
go here.
Yep.
And if it was there, instead of having to go through the labyrinthine process that you just right up front, you know, it's a measure of how well you reach out to the community. Interestingly, in that process, I did find that there was a 2021, 2022 school year letter that talked about how wanting to reach out to the community. And I think it mentioned a different publication. And it reminded me that I come here, every time I'm here, I say, use the Gazette to talk to the community or reach out to the community. And I think there's been one article so far that the school has put in. So if I can beg for a few more seconds.
Yes.
I encourage you to use the Gazette as much as you can. People read it, despite what some people say. And people like it, and they learn from it, and they could learn about the school from it. I'm hoping next time they're going to learn about the budget process from it.
So
Thank
is
you
the
very
hope.
much.
Do we have an extra budget?
Yes.
Errol?
Ah.
Okay. Okay. No other public comments. We will move on to the first of several budget presentations.
So to start tonight, I would just remind everyone that this is not a complete budget by any stretch. We don't have the full budget ready until typically the first or second week of November because we're still populating salaries, fringe benefits. We don't have insurance rates yet, so we don't have all the invoices in to be able to predict next year's cost because we don't even know this year's yet. So that seems late when you're trying to get the MBC a budget the first week in December. So it's always really crunched. So we started backing the process up, and Mrs. Withy graciously starts working with us in September on next year's budget, so that we can start putting the budget together with the numbers that we can sort of have an easier time predicting our needs for next year. It takes a lot of work on the school's part, and I thank you and the administration and the staff for being so thoughtful when they hit the ground running to already be thinking about what they might need for next year. So the lines that are populated are the lines that Mrs. Withy typically takes ownership of and have to do with the building directly. So you'll see zeros, you might see some things auto-populated from the accounting system, but that they are not the numbers yet. So as Mrs. Withy's going through, if you have questions for her, you can ask them, and if you think there should be a line that's populated that shouldn't be, or vice versa, you can also just let me know and I'll clarify for you. So.
All right. Much of the budget is very similar to what we've done now. Poor Nate has been through this for 7 years with me. I would also like to reiterate that when you fall into a default budget, as you know, those numbers, whatever, any way you want to use the line, if you want to change it somehow, it can't change because a default budget goes back to the way it was last year. So, as administration is trying to be creative with some of our lines, we will not be able to do that if we end up in a default budget again. So the first line is intern stipends. We dropped that down to $2,000. We have not had UNH interns or any kind of interns in the past couple of years. The program is has put most of their interns in the schools that are closer to UNH as opposed to coming to Deerfield. So
And that's a smaller pool too.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have lower here.
much smaller pool, and the interns we've had have either been art or music. We've had a few music interns, so that line has dropped down to 2,000.
Do you mind, the third column over is line numbers, do you mind just referring to the line number that you're on? See the third column, the top says line numbers and it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2.
I don't have that. What?
Right in the middle.
Right after this.
Oh, line numbers 1, 2, 3. Oh, it says 3 point. You didn't tell me there was a point 00000.
You have to read that. every-
Line 2. Okay, that was 2.
We ever had to manipulate our accounting system to let her get that row in.
Oh, I love that.
In the right spot.
Got it. Now I know. Line 3 is for substitute salaries. We don't have the actuals for 20. Oh, I guess we do have no, that's the default budget. Actuals for 23-24 was 43,000. So our subs are growing for years. They've kind of been dwindling, but we've got a pretty steady pool right now. And so I put 50,000 in that. Then I dropped down to line 9 for instructional equipment repair. That specifically is for our music equipment. As I stated, we've been stuck at $1,500 for many years now and have not been able to do what we want to do to get our equipment repairs done for our musical instruments. So we've increased that line by $500. Technology equipment repair is the next line, line 10. That is for outside contractors or repairs that cannot be done in-house. Our in-house staff is pretty proficient at fixing our computers, so we really haven't, but I'd hate to not have something in that line in case we need it. Educational technology is line 11, and that is 24,000. That includes our subscriptions to all of our educational software. As you know, we've moved budget lines and tried to consolidate our technology budget lines, and this one would include software for PE, music, library, and also resources for science and social studies.
So you're saying we're including more subscriptions in this than you did before?
Yeah, we moved some funds from 11,650 up into here as we try to consolidate lines. We've done that. We did that a couple of years ago, but we keep that note in there as a reminder.
Yeah, so if you look at the 23-24 pools,
Yes,
there's a big jump.
Yeah.
And
But then you're not dropping 11, the one you're referring to is line 26, and that doesn't look like you're dropping, you're not proposing a drop at that line when you're increasing this line.
This year, it was probably done multiple years ago.
yeah, I think, I guess what if I'm remembering correctly, we moved subscriptions for certain subjects into one line, and this line, what did you say it was number? Sorry, Nate.
Line 26, I think is the one you're referring to in the note there, where it says
School-wide
661,
subscriptions, yeah.
8855 is school-wide subscriptions.
It's up to you.
I think you're saying you're taking 9,000 from that and putting it into here, but the 9,000 doesn't come out of that.
No,
Is that not what you're saying?
I don't think so. I think we had some of these subscriptions, we tried to keep the school-wide subscriptions to things that, as the definition would hint at, the whole school is
Right.
using. And then educational technology, it's more specific to the instructional class, like PE.
Social studies,
Software,
music,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
But, so then there was an increase of $9,000 of subscriptions you're looking for.
So the actuals were 15,000,
Yeah.
the default gave us 27, and we're asking for 24. So we're asking for 3,700 less than the default,
But
but
you
more
only-
than the actuals.
Right, but you only used 15,000.
Yes, that's right.
Right, I think like a couple of years ago when we did this, we did move some money from one line to another, but over the years, it seems like they've caught up with each other. So I might have misspoke and said that we're taking money from one line and putting it into another. I think originally that was the intent. If I go back, I'd have to go back into budget notes and see that.
And I assume like last year we had a list of all the technology or subscriptions and stuff, so you can get that again. just to be sure.
Yep, we have an appendix. I believe I gave it to, I don't know if it's in here or not. Let me just double check.
Oh, yeah.
P20, page 20.
And we do, we, I shouldn't say we, DCS and Brooke, they do an inventory every year to make sure people are
Yeah.
still using subscriptions.
Yeah, Brooke will send out a Google form with all the things. Are you still using this? Is this something? One of the biggies that we ended up not getting, we're not going to get this year, is Nearpod. That was like a $4,500 subscription, and not enough people were using it to justify that cost. But we are buying individual subscriptions for people that are still using it, which is much cheaper. It's a couple $100s for an individual subscription. So. Brooke, they did do some tech truck. They did a lot of work around that and trying to train people, but it just, only a few people really are using it, so. All right. I think we're on line 13 for general supplies. At 35,000.
I think, I'm just gonna keep interrupting you.
No, you're good.
I think popped into my head. I just want to remind everyone that we closed the budget in the fall.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think
when you see actuals,
Yeah.
it's because they weren't allowed to spend
I
money.
was just gonna say that, because I'm thinking, like, but, yeah, because we just didn't spend it. We
Yeah,
just
though we shut down
shutting
Trish
everything
was-
down. Okay.
paper shopping and
That's
asking
why we're
if she could buy
back to the
reams. So just when you see the actuals, it's not because we didn't need it, it's because we couldn't spend it.
Right, and I think unfortunately, probably some of those costs got passed down to individual teachers
Oh, definitely.
to purchase.
For sure.
So as a word of caution for those looking at actuals, it's not that the money was not spent. It was unfortunately not spent by the district. It was taken on by the teachers and staff.
I'm on line 14, and that is our world cultures. As you know, that was at one point a world language line. It's now world cultures. And that line has stayed about the same for many years. There is a big bump in our health line, line 15. And this year we were able to use some ESSER money to purchase a program from One Trusted Adult, which is a New Hampshire DOE adopted program for advisories and things like that. And they have these journals called Ripple journals, and we've purchased those to use with our health and wellness classes for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Mr. Young is our health and wellness teacher, and he's been using them with students, and we're hoping to find some success with that kind of structure to the program. So I've included that in his increase there. Usually he has about $200 that he uses to buy some supplies and materials and things like that he needs. So that's quite a bump. But again, this will be a line that will end up in a default budget. If we end up in a default budget, that we will not be able to purchase those journals.
Is that, we would expect that to be an annual cost?
Yes, yeah, because we purchase them for the students to have, yeah. Art in line 16 they bumped up to 16,000 just to incur some of the increase in costs. Again, as Patty said, that actual of $7,000 spent, usually our art department spends every last dime, and they didn't last year because they couldn't. They got the bare necessities, and they were able to get the notebooks or the journals for the students, the sketchbooks for the students, and that's pretty much, when you say tertiary, that's pretty much where the bulk of that $7,000 is.
Yeah.
And a little bit of paper, yeah. Maybe some glue sticks. We'll throw some glue sticks in there. Yeah.
And the difficulty is trying, if you had to go through a second year of that, you basically depleted everything. So there's no way you could survive 2 years of not buying anything.
For
So
sure.
This year, I know, they ordered
Yes.
right away.
Right
to
away.
try to
Mhm.
get with
We get exactly. Again, guidance increased their line by $100, line number 17. They spent nothing last year because they did. At least they didn't spend it out of the budget.
Shut down.
Math is an increase of 5,000 on line 18. That's 16,816.02. Math has worked out their budget for next year, and it includes. Just let me get to my budget note. It does include money, a cost that it will take for us to outfit our grades K through 5 with all the Eureka Squared materials. It includes the Math Squared, Eureka Math Squared Learn and Digital Bundle. It's about a cost of about $35 or so for each student. And so it costs about $1,700 for next year for each grade K through 5 total. In addition, we have our big ideas. The digital license for grade 6 is about $1,000. And then we have grade 7 is about $800. And the accelerated digital license is $400. And then we have our digital license for 8th grade and the algebra digital license for 8th grade. So altogether, plus an additional about $2,000 to buy the materials and supplies that they need. They use their line to help teachers with materials that they need, replacement materials, math night funds, and that type of thing.
Is there a reason that the subscriptions don't go in the ed tech line?
Well, it's not really
It's just
technology.
specific math.
They're
It's
workbooks.
More of a digital, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
I mean, there's digital components to it, but it's workbooks, right?
yes.
And so this increase is gonna be an annual thing, and this is part of our new middle school program, or is this a one-time buy for our middle school program, which I thought we bought last year?
We did, but there's every year there'll be a cost associated with getting the digital bundles.
Is Eureka Squared a one-time?
I don't believe so. Because we bought this last year with ESSER money, and this year
I
we're,
was thinking that.
yeah. We bought it with ESSER money for this year. I'm just reading the note here. It also, it does include a 10% discount. So they really tried to try their best to get the best cost they could. Music, line number 19, 3,500. It's up.
I'm sorry, could we go back to the math one? I'm still
Yeah,
trying to work out.
sure.
Why was last year so low? Oh, I'm sorry, because was it grant related, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Grants made up the difference.
Mhm.
But was it still around 17,000 that we spent? So there was 14,000?
Yeah, I put
in grants?
almost $17,000 in the grant. Maybe 15.
And these are the things that the whole state has been talking about. You've seen it on the news, the suffering that schools are dealing with now,
Mhm.
losing ESSER funds. The grant expired September 30th, and that's been the place that we've been able to get, that all schools have been able to turn to with all of that COVID funding, and it's gone.
Mhm.
So a lot of people, it's worse for a lot of people because they used the grant funds to hire people, and now they're losing people. We tried not to do that knowing that money was going to be gone. So.
Mhm.
But we were able to get a lot of our curriculum materials through the grant that we won't be able to do.
And is language arts in a similar ballpark as math, partly because of their sort of workbook situation? Is that where a lot of the costs are coming from? Or, I'm sorry, you haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's
You
okay.
talk about language
That's
arts.
okay. That's all right. I got right to the page, so I'll be able to talk about it right away. Any other questions about math? Music, as you can see, they spent nothing last year, so they're trying to recoup. So they're up to $3,500. Physical education, same thing. They're now 2 years behind in terms of their replacement. So their asks are very reasonable on their list of replacement equipment for PE. Language arts. Language arts is actually down a little bit from the default is 14.4. They spent about $8,000, and of that 8,000, there is additional, like I put a lot of things in the ESSER for ELA, like decodable books for K-2, and there's a lot of money that came out of the ESSER to support the language arts program. So language arts includes foundations, replacement materials, book money for classroom library, as well as mentor texts, decodable reading sets for intervention, replacement books and updated titles for grades 3 through 8, includes the purchase of Great Stone face books for 4th and 5th grade, and Words Their Way. We have vocabulary books, Wilson materials, Keys to Comprehension and Vocabulary books and trainings, peer coaching course for Keys to Comprehension and Vocabulary. So most of it is, those are the costs.
Can I throw in kind of a somewhat
Whatever you want.
parallel question, more for future reference, and this is more of a request, I guess. You mentioned interventions in this department, and I think I know that when COVID was happening and there was all kinds of craziness happening, I think that our reading, all kinds of loss was happening in the school. And we've been talking over the last few months about having some data reports and more. Can a piece of that, could that be looking at sort of how our interventions and our spending on these different like math and language arts, how have our students been coming back hopefully from a deficit that came on from, or do we have scores that can speak to that? Or do we have data that can support
We
that?
do, and Amy's been updating our curriculum. She did a dashboard that's absolutely amazing. It's comparing data between schools in the state, and I think she populated the iReady already as well. So we do have that data. I don't know if we can make a direct correlation between, there was loss during COVID and because we purchased these amazing things.
Yeah, no,
But you know what I mean? It's,
but that is going to be part of the
Yes.
presentation,
yes.
whenever that happens.
Our science line, as you know, was at a zero. We were able to get the dollar back in there. We've had a couple $1,000s in that line, and a lot of the things for science have come out of our supply line because we keep falling back into the dollar default. My hope is always with this line, as at 3,460, we're on line 22, is to give each middle school science teacher $500 to spend, and our K-5 teachers $100 to spend specifically on science materials. So if you add those, our 3 middle school classrooms and our K-5 classrooms up, that comes to $33,460. But again, if we end up in a default budget, we will end back at $1 and have no money to spend in the science line. The same goes with our social studies line. This is another line that we've tried to get creative with, and we purchase a lot of things out of this line, like the Time for Kids comes out of this line, new curriculum needs come out of the line, and I've been trying to increase that line a little bit to include $100 for each of our middle school classrooms to buy the materials they need. As you know, our middle school core teachers teach a unit of social studies, and then our K-5 teachers also $100 to be able to spend on materials that they would need for social studies. There's been a real push in PD over the last couple of years to align our social studies work to the competencies that have come out of the state of New Hampshire. And we're just trying to increase that line to get some materials into teachers' hands and therefore into kids' hands. The next line, 24, is a technology supply line. That's another line that we have tried for several years to get out of default. This is a line that specifically would be for technology supplies like computer mice and headphones and 3D filament and ink for the poster printer that we have. Because we keep falling down into $1 for default, we end up having to pull that money out of the supply line. And I would love to have a dedicated line just for technology supplies. The next line, number 25, is computer repair parts. Again, this is a line that for a couple of years was we used ESSER for, including ESSER 2 and the ESSER 3. We had a couple $1,000s in that line to help with computer repair parts. And over the years, we've not had to dip into that line, but I suspect with the ESSER gone, we might have to use a little bit more of that money. School-wide subscriptions. This is, again, like Patty had mentioned earlier, these are for school-wide accounts, including some things that we have from the SAU, like Google Enterprise. Silent dismissal is something that we use here at the school for dismissal time. That would be in here. Our Eureka accounts are in this line, different than what they need for the bundle. Let me see. Budget will be the same. I don't have many more notes on that. Sorry. Next line, 27, is instructional equipment, new instructional equipment. We don't currently have a need for new instructional equipment. A lot of this was, when we were purchasing the Elmos and those digital things that we needed for the classroom. But we have used a lot of the ESSER money to purchase instructional equipment for technology, as well as furniture and fixtures. The next line, 28, 29, and 30. We don't have any real need in those lines to purchase anything. I'm on line 31. We're proposing $3,000. As you know, several years ago, we used that ESSER, that in between December ESSER money. I don't even know what that's called, ARP.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would begin with an A.
Yeah, and we purchased ThinkPad laptops for every teacher in the building, every certified teacher in the building. And we're now, I think this will be our 4th year with them. So we're going into a recycle period at this point to start needing to replace the ThinkPads. This line was also at one point to replace the smart boards in the classrooms, but those have all been replaced by TVs that were purchased with ESSER funds. So we're looking at a replacement cycle now for our ThinkPads. Next line, 32, is furniture fixture replacement. This is the line that Mr. Grieve uses at the end of the school year. He'll put an email out to all staff and say, what are you looking for next year? What do you need for your classrooms? What furniture needs to be replaced? Teachers will need new desk chairs, new desks, new bookcases, new filing cabinets, new computer chairs, all the things that teachers would need over the course of the year. So he's gotten some flexible seating with this line. He gets a big bang for his buck out of that line. So, and I think he would have spent every last dime if he was able to last year, but he was stopped at $7,000. And a lot of that $7,000 was done over the summer. Yeah. And then it came to a halt, so he couldn't spend any more money. The next line, 33, is computer network replacement. And that's the replacement. So we're in a replacement cycle now of retiring all 8th grade Chromebooks and then giving new Chromebooks to our incoming 5th graders. Our K-4 classes still share jar of computers. A lot of our fourth grades still have computers in their classroom, but we give all of our incoming fifth graders a brand new Chromebook, and that follows them through sixth, seventh, and eighth grade.
So did we not do that last year?
We
We
bought
did
a
not.
ton through ESSER.
Yeah, we used
Ton of
all
technology.
Okay, all right. So
$40,000.
we still did the replacement, we just.
Correct. Now I'm down to line 39. And that is training stipends. We're in the special ed line now. And so that will be special ed specific. Might be a training in if a staff member wants to attend a CPI course or something like that. We have a couple of new case managers or new to case management this year, and they've attended the case management school. And down to line 43 is also special education training at $1,500.
What is the difference between 39 and 43?
Actually, you know what I'm thinking of? I think 39 is a stipend. So if a teacher does it over the summer
Okay.
or on their own time, sorry, yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
If you look at the function, I think your favorite thing to learn about, the 39 says 1,117, and 43 says 1,322. So any functions with a 1 are paying people,
Mm.
and any function with a 3 is paying someone on the outside. So a 117 means we're giving our teachers stipends, and 322 means we're paying someone else to do training.
Organization.
Yeah, and that carries through the whole budget. When you see 1s, it's their salary lines. When you see 3s, they're outside.
I'm on line 46, 45, 46. Electronic software licensing. The in account note says Microsoft 365, and I do know that Mrs. McConnell is also looking to purchase a subscription to Everyday Speech, which is specifically for our speech and language pathologists. A program called Q Global and a program called Lesson Picks, which are, I believe, associated with communication devices for students in the building that need an alternative form of communication.
This line is possessed. I added the note, I updated the note, and Microsoft 365 keeps printing, and that note doesn't get replaced, so I'm gonna try again.
All right, no worries.
So technology, the other technology stuff doesn't, this is just special.
This is
education.
specifically for special education, yeah. And probably student specific as well.
You didn't talk about line 44, but I'm just curious about that contracted service.
It's not done. That's a line that Chris Bickford does. So when the full budget's done, she'll be here with Amber.
I was reading it above with the specific.
Oh, yeah, the
but
notes
it's
are
the
below,
note
even though they're
below.
close.
I know, I'm sorry, on that one, okay.
Hmm.
Never mind.
And down to line 50 for special education supplies. And that line is for consumables, protocols, reading materials specific to special education needs at $7,000. Line 52 for new furniture, $5,000. That would be specific adaptive furniture that we might need for a student or students, like a walker or a wheelchair, or that we would use in the school, or a Rifton chair, which is a specialized chair for students that need support for sitting. So that's what that line is
And
for.
those might be required under 502.
4.
504, and not necessarily.
Right,
Not
typically
necessarily
special education.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
See, I learned things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Line 53 is for new computer network. That would be student specific. Replacement furniture, I'm on line 54. I think that's, oh, it's a 1200 line, sorry. And then replacement computer network, replacement of an outdated laptop. So our special educators also have the ThinkPad laptops, so this would be specifically replacing theirs if need be.
Do we not have a technology trust fund for replacement?
We don't use it for replacement.
I see.
It's an option, but typically if we know we have an expense and it's a replacement cycle, it stays, we budget for it. Got it.
I have vague memories of trust fund names in my head.
Yep, and I'm assuming when you do the budget, you're looking to see if things have gone more expensive or less expensive. You're budgeting according to what the cost is at that time.
Line 56 is co-curricular salaries, and this is a line that Mr. Grieve worked on. The next several lines, co-curricular officials, supplies, equipment, and dues and fees. These are all from our co-curricular line. The co-curricular salaries would include salary for athletic director, coaches, and then in line 57 would be covering our umpires and our referees.
So, we're so less on the budget actuals. What are things that we didn't offer last year? Budget actuals for the co-curricular salaries is about 29,000, and we're looking for 10,000 more. And the referees are like
I know there
7,000
were
and-
some sports we couldn't field the
Correct.
team for.
Yep.
Baseball maybe.
Or there was not, we budget for an A team and a B
Right,
team,
we don't always get
and we
both.
don't always get both,
So that
so.
might be why the difference.
Mhm.
Yeah, like obviously if we
Actually,
don't
it's
have,
less than the default budget.
if we don't have a baseball team, we don't have to pay umps for those
Right.
games.
Yep. And we didn't have a softball team, we had a baseball team, we didn't
Okay.
have a softball team this past year, so
There's typically
There is,
an appendix for
Yep.
that.
there's,
The different teams
Should be
and
broken out,
prices.
yeah.
and often our assistant coaches do as much work as our coaches, so if we're able to, we'll give them that same stipend, knowing that there's not a B team or knowing that there's not a,
do we have a drama program?
no, well, we have
Yeah,
in the
right.
past, we've had our drama performances, our spring performances, but we have not in the past, so that's a line that would not get spent. But it is there if somebody wanted to do it.
The appendix looks like it has last year's, or this year's 24-25 budgeted values and next year's proposed budgeted values, but not the actuals from the previous year, which would answer that question about why were the salaries so low last year?
I mean, like, if we saw in this, there's a zero, it means
Right.
they didn't have that
Yeah,
team,
like
they
if there was
didn't
no
have that,
softball.
they didn't have like a drama, they didn't do a play.
I don't know if we need that information.
The system will print that when we break it down by event. The only way we could get it would be like to pull every official we paid and see how much we paid them and what we paid them for.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
But if we just had that as, could that be something we could look at over these next 2 weeks?
I was gonna say, I mean, just for the salaries, I'm sure there were multiple of these that we didn't have. I don't think we have a cheerleading coach, drama coach,
Oh,
whatever, softball.
We didn't have the.
Just get a
the
list.
Just get like a
DCS.
rough
Yeah.
number.
Do that.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's worth it.
Right, I don't either.
I mean, I wouldn't want to get rid of them, I wouldn't want to point it out and say, well, we haven't done it for 2 years, so get rid of it, because
We won't get it back in.
Yeah, and we
I don't
were
want to do that.
constantly trying to find people. to do
Right.
them.
Right, that's fine.
Yeah, I could feel it for 6 years.
You wanna come back?
This would be a benefit of a default because we do default back to $42,000, even though we don't need that.
That's why we try to correct the lines so that they're representative of what we actually need.
Right. Any questions on the co-curricular? We have supplies, equipment, that's a line that we've used in the past to buy, a new soccer net or new benching or something like that. And we don't have anything in mind for equipment replacement, so. And then I am down to line 63. And that is an assessment line. That's a line that we take things like Strategies Goal, which is a preschool program, as well as Dibbles, Um, And then we're into the health line. So I'm on line 65. Health equipment calibration. We just try to get $5 more every year, and we end up back in the $75 for default. No, but that is what the line Bonnie uses to calibrate her hearing machine and her vision machine. Same with medical supplies. Those are the supplies that Bonnie needs, Nurse Heisey needs. She's been able to get by with $2,000, so we're hoping that line will stay. We can keep that line at 2,000. Then we get into health books, medical AV, new furniture, and fixtures. We don't have anything in mind that we need in those lines. Replacement equipment. We are looking at a potential replacement of her otoscope, which is the look in the ear. So she was able to purchase a new battery again for this. This is the second time she's purchased a battery. So, but it's been here since before her, she says. So, we're down to line 71. That's our assembly line. We didn't spend any of that last year due to our frozen budget. But we do try to get an assembly in here. Last year we did have an assembly. Thankfully to PTO and Focus, they purchased that. But it's that's a line that we try to use to get. We've had a Tiger assembly in the past that we've used that line for. Line 72 is curriculum stipends. That would be the line that we use to pay our staff during the summertime if staff come in over the summer. And I tried to increase that line last year to $15,000, knowing that we would likely be spending a lot of that this summer, and ended up back in the default of $12,000. We spent almost every last dime, what you say, Trish, this past summer, and I would have spent more if I could have, but I think I got close to like $11,870 or something like that. So that actual will look very different next year. We have a lot of summer work that goes on in the building with language arts and math, and we've had some middle school subcommittee work, and we've done this past summer, we did a lot of work with our advisory and the probation, and that's the line I would pay all those teachers out of. The next line, 73, is curriculum development. In talking with admin, we didn't have anything in mind to increase that line. Line 74 isn't something we would normally put in, but that is the contractual max contractual amount. So we entered that line of 31,000. And the next line, 75, is in-service training. That's the line we pay first aid and CPR. We do that every other year. So this year is our staff actually next Wednesday and Thursday is CPR and first aid. The next line, number 76, is staff training. We try to, this will be a line that if we end up in a default, we won't be able to use, but we're trying to use that line as our NELMS conference and travel expenses. The past several years, we've come to the board and you have graciously allowed a team of middle school teachers to attend the NELMS conference and paid for travel expenses as well. We've been able to find that money in other lines, but we would like to dedicate a line specifically for that, so it's in place, and we can send a team of middle school teachers, and usually an administrator goes to that as well.
So how many would that be? Like a team? Are you talking
I
about the
think-
whole sixth grade or sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade?
We usually take, I think we did 7. We did 2 from every grade level.
And referee, 6.
Yeah. We put it out for who's interested, and typically, when more people are interested, then we usually take 2 per grade level, Last year, a case manager went from sixth grade, and a sixth grade teacher, a sixth grade para went last year. This seventh grade teacher, an eighth grade teacher, a couple of eighth grade teachers. Yep. And like Trish said, we do get one for free. That would be free to enter the conference, not to sleep or eat, just to attend. Yeah, and they carpool. They met at the school. They carpooled down to save on gas and mileage, and try to get the best prices on rooms and that type of thing. So,
Could I throw out something in regards to that line, that idea from a more, I mean, really, it's a question I think that would get at the board, but also information from the administration about a lot of things. So we've just sort of mentioned a couple of things here. The NELMS conference has been, we've been doing that for 5 or 6 years, I think.
outside of COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID. And when I started 8 years ago, we were at the tail end of the recertification of NEASC, and then we at that time decided not to recertify with NEASC and went with NELM instead. At that time, I think we were feeling like focusing on the better use of our money at that time and all that. And then some more recent conversations, I think it's come up that we talk about the responsive classroom, but our official training in that responsive classroom has kind of lapsed. I think some of the people who were trained, and I'm not sure when that happened, but those people, they're not necessarily here anymore, and we've cycled through and times have changed. I guess this is a question more for the board to think about as we look at budgeting. And I would love some input from the administration as maybe we come back in the next couple of weeks or a couple of meetings. Would it make any sense? Do we feel like we've been doing this NELMS thing for a number of years, which has been great? And I think part of this question is, have we seen improvement or benefit from it? Which I assume we have. But would this money or some other chunk of budget, as we think about it, be better served for the school as a whole to repurpose this or add more money? But there's probably no more money. So I'm thinking about this as a line to look at. And instead start to cycle the whole school, all of the faculty through. It wouldn't all happen in 1 year because I actually know what the cost is. But what would getting sort of updated on responsive classroom look like if we were to start going, I don't know, what, grade by grade? I don't know how that works and what the cost is. And that's my question. So sort of like a middle school focused NELMS budget line. I'm sure there's been benefits that we've seen from that. But a whole school responsive classroom, you just mentioned probation as, yes, a focus, but could that bear like sort of larger fruit to look at responsive classroom as a whole school rather than focusing on those?
I think we can certainly talk to Brian because he typically goes to the, but I've always heard things brought back like, oh, we met as a team and they actually come back and implement things. And I'm trying to remember what it was last year, but was it the advisory stuff?
It was
something that came out of the NELMS conference.
We did a boom session where everybody shared something that they brought back from in the advisory program, and the improving the probation were two big takeaways that we started working on.
So I think that has been very beneficial because we did put a lot of work and focus on the middle school, and Kristen actually just worked with the NELMS report, dusted it off, brought it back out, and missed its PD day. They just did. I'm sure she'll talk about it in her principal's report at the next business meeting. But, and I think, and then part B of that, I think a lot of people got away from the official training because it's sort of like the trainings for emergency. If you call yourself a responsive classroom school, or you say you're using responsive classroom, you have to be trained and you have to pay them and you have to get certified. And I think people moved away from that because of the expense, and now have just incorporated the responsive classroom practices. They do morning meeting every meeting. So even though that people may not be considered certified, I don't think we lost the responsive classroom techniques. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
You can do it another way. I mean, there's lots of books out there that you can do, and you can use it as one of your PLCs. Responsive classroom, working on that. There's other ways to do it and training everybody.
The tier 1 team actually took that on, and so because we did survey the staff and said like who's had training, and we have people all over. Some people did advanced training, and then we decided to call it a community circle. So we've actually devised our advisories around the community circle as well as our K through 5. So we are incorporating, like Patty said, morning meeting in every single K to 5 classroom, as well as our advisories. We also use that greeting, sharing, news and announcements format.
And setting up your classroom, what
Yeah.
are the expectations, what are the
Right,
rules,
right. So the tier one team did take that on, and we've done walkthroughs and we've done trainings, and I start every staff meeting like a community circle. So we don't necessarily call it responsive classroom. It is tens of thousands of dollars to get trained. And we did consider using some of our grant money to do that. But we knew that we had so many rich resources in our own building. Like you said, lots of reading that people can do. We've shared articles. We have on our hub, we have a community circle hub where people can go to find a greeting and an activity and ways to extend responsive classroom that way. So that is something we are working on. And we don't ever, if somebody wants to go to responsive classroom training, we totally encourage it because that is where it's a great training. So it is something we are continuing to work on.
Wondering about with the NOMs, and maybe you already do this, do you kind of like have everybody get together in middle school and say, what are issues that we're having, what are problems before you go to the conference? So that you can try to focus on what that is. Like say if it's behavior issues, then you can go there and everybody make sure they go to a lot of the things on behavior and then come back and share that. That's what I was wondering. So instead of like coming back and saying, what did you get from it? And they say this, and then you decide, maybe you can decide before you go. Because I know NELMS is actually more than 6 years because I've gone to many NELMS conferences.
Yeah.
And I know one of the ones we did one time was we focused on teamwork. So we went and we made sure we went to all these different ones on teamwork and we came back and we actually had one of their consultants come and help us and do a whole bunch of stuff on that. That's just a
Next line, 77, professional books, subscriptions. I spent that money also in the summertime. Stop. And now we're into the library. I'm on line 80 for educational technology subscriptions. That is definitely a line that we moved some of our subscriptions into another line. Library supplies, she's kept the same. Library periodicals, line 82. And then general reference materials, line 83, she's increased to $7,000 to purchase library books and reference materials, considering the costs of rising book costs.
And she unfortunately did not spend her money in the summertime before.
Correct. As you can
We
see,
spent
$276.
Yeah.
She was still able to get some books though.
Yes, she found ways.
And then line 84 is library equipment. We don't really have an expense in that area. The next three lines, however, if you'll notice the account, so line 85, 86, and 87, we've taken those two AV accounts. One is dedicated technology and one is just for library. They've been at $2.50 and then we're dropping it down to $1. Beth would like to shift the money that we spend on periodicals to audiovisual material due to the amount of magazines that are canceling their print subscriptions. Circulation is down in periodicals, but high in Sora, which is a platform for audiobooks. So she wants to be able to purchase more audiobooks to meet the needs of the learners at DCS. So if we drop those two lines, keep one line's at $1, but drop that other line to $2.50 and then put that into the AV audiovisual material, that's her hope. And that's another audiovisual equipment was budgeted, default budget of $200, drop it down to $1, and that's putting all that money into that other one line. Line 89, again, not necessarily a line that we have, but we did put in the $5,000. That's the max in the contract. And then the next line, 90, that's the max number as well. We have non-cert mileage is line 91. And then school board salaries, we're thinking at $0. Still zero.
Zero, yes.
Uh,
We deserve
It's funny, there's a dollar.
yeah, it's,
I want that dollar.
it. Split 5
Let's
ways.
split it. 20 cents.
then I'm all the way down to line 110 is my next line. That is an extra assignment stipend that I've tried for several years to get money into. And because we end up in a default, we're not able to get that line, but that line is specifically to pay for a substitute coordinator.
We were able to pull some from ESSER, right?
We used REAP grant.
No, we grant,
Mhm.
so that we can get her paid.
Is that, so someone on staff works as the coordinator?
Correct. So if a teacher or a staff member is sick, they would text her, call her. She would try to line up a substitute teacher for the day.
It's not a popular job.
I can't imagine.
Everybody worked really hard this year to find someone to do that job.
Terrible job. I was wondering, you can't use I guess you can't use the money from the extracurricular, huh? We don't have a B team, we can get a substitute.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
Hmm. Line 111 is just professional, is a professional dues line that would pay for the New Hampshire Association for School Principals dues that for both Brian and I, as well as the New Hampshire Association of Special Education Administrators. That's Lisa and her Council of Exceptional Children for admin. We've been able to get that covered with $2,500. I'm down to line 116. That's $2,000 is in there. That's a line that that reimburses people for fingerprints and that type of thing. The next line, 117, that's the copier line. And then line 119 is outside tech support. We haven't used that line in a couple of years. I think it was a line that we used to pay somebody to help with the website at one point.
Probably.
Yeah.
You get things done in-house. Fantastic.
Yeah. Postage line is the line 121 at 2,000. Line 122 is travel conferences. Again, that $1,700 was spent prior to the school year. It was spent over the summer. But we feel that $5,000 would cover it. Our default budget is $7,750, but
What is that for if it's not for like NUMS, for example?
That's admin.
admin.
That's admin, yeah.
Mhm. Same with the next line, 123, that's office supplies. That I didn't spend over the summer. Professional books I did spend over the summer. Then I'm down to line 126, and that's just new equipment, furniture. That also is for office space. New computer equipment, a line that we see of need for. We always try to spend our replacement furniture and fixture line for the office. New chairs or a new table, or somebody needs a new desk in the office. Commencement line 130, put up to $2,500. We always have to come to the board to ask for money in that line.
And didn't we also say that we were gonna have that, so to pay for remember we had the whole conversation last year about paying commencement, I'm assuming, for
Yeah.
8th grade graduation?
Yes.
We had that discussion about whether we should buy the robes, and we thought that we should buy the robes.
Yeah, I think that's what that 1,600 is, the robes. If I,
And we had that conversation last year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we increased the line, so hopefully if the budget passes, we have it.
The next line is line 132. That is custodian mileage, and I believe that is in the contract, so I think we can drop that down to $1. I thought I changed it, but like you said, Patty, it's not, it's doing funky things, so we're gonna get that line changed to $1.
He doesn't know anywhere?
No.
We are gonna do a stipend in his contract, like we've done that with other people so that he doesn't have to turn in a mileage slip for every 5 miles that he runs out and does things.
Mm.
He gets a
He
stipend.
just gets a stipend, he might be under, he might be over, but
Line 135, cleaning supplies. Just the general increase in cost. Line 139 is for new equipment. Again, this is a line that Chris has tried for a couple of years. He would like to purchase a,
I was gonna say, the water pump is finished bad.
he keeps trying.
yeah, and we had a bit of default and you can't get it because you can't get anything new. So, yeah, for the athletic fields and for campus watering. And also he has in there parking lot lighting. I don't know if that, I don't know why he put that in there, but
I don't know, we talked about coming up with a list of Chris's items and then having the conversation about what you want to put in the trust funds, what you want to budget for. I guess looking at the items.
Yeah, I thought the parking
Bit
lot
by
lighting was.
Yeah, I
was
think
part of the
I
whole
think we were gonna,
budget.
no,
No,
they put something in.
right,
Put
they
in,
put
like,
like,
remember
they
them
put the
talking
poles
about it.
in.
I doubt
But we didn't do the
7,000
lighting.
would pay for the lighting,
No.
so potentially just
Yeah.
light bulbs.
Yeah, I think he was working on a capital list.
mm.
And then we were gonna talk about, do you wanna put any of these things in the budget? Do you wanna put more money in the trust funds? So when we get to that point, he's gonna have a list for us.
Line 140 for new furniture, furnishings and fixture. He has 20,000 in that line, and I think that's countertops. He wanted to replace the
That sounds
countertops in the classrooms.
In all the, okay, any classroom that has a sink.
Yeah, sinks and the sink countertops. Yeah,
Yeah, a description on that would be very helpful.
yeah.
Not having that going on.
I thought it was, but
It's down there under line
Oh, it
142.
is an account note down below.
Oh,
That's line 142.
yeah, I
not
was saying
140.
not 140.
Replacement furniture and fixtures.
Yeah, new furnishings and fixtures.
Yeah, because he's got 20,000 for each,
oh, that's the countertops. Yeah.
so then what's?
Um, That's right, because he originally had put it in. This line we might be able to drop down to $1 because he originally had put countertops in that line, but I told him it was actually a replacement, so I bumped it down to the next, the replacement furniture and fixtures. So that's 21.5. So let me check on that 20,000 line. I think that might need to be $1, but I'll check on that and have a note next time. Yeah, and he also wants to replace the walk-off mats, which are the mats that go when you come in and out of the building. Those have been around for quite a while. They don't look bad for being around for a while. All right, and then I think the next line is 144 for maintenance supplies. Maintenance supplies,
So that's like toilet paper.
air filters, yeah, paint. He has a paintings rotation.
In the second to the last page.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance supplies, air filters, filters and bags, paint interior and exterior, gas and oil for equipment, light bulb recycling, auto scrubber for maintenance, ceiling tiles, motors, electrical and plumbing supplies, shed roof repair, LED replacement, maintenance supplies. I made a note to reference the appendix because we usually do that when we put the full budget together. We'll say see appendix C or whatever. Please here.
Grounds maintenance is line 145, and that is an increase in lawn maintenance contract from 30,000 to 35,000. And it includes turf care, the athletic field, playground maintenance, also parking lot maintenance. Summer of 2025, he wants to work on line stripping and crack sealing.
And that's
Is that money, oh, we really don't have any parking lot money. in the trust.
But
it was paving. It was the paving trust.
Okay,
Yeah, this is maintenance.
Mm.
So I can use to see what it.
well, yeah, I thought we talked about putting more money in for sealing in the trust, but I don't. It's been one.
Line 146 is the line, just the service repair for the snow blower. It doesn't look like he needed it last year, so. Line 147 is contracted services. That includes all the things. It's in the back as well, yeah.
What was the 1.2 million?
Oh, because we took money from the trust funds. So it was probably, we did a whole list of,
It was the roof was a
Yeah.
big part of it.
anything that we had a public hearing on, we expend in the budget and then get reimbursed. Mm-hmm. And we have a bunch of stuff.
The next line that I have is line 152 for athletic trips. We're always hopeful that we can get some buses for our athletic trips. We have not had buses since COVID.
And so I know this came up on social media recently. The issue is the bus drivers not being available, not that we don't have the budget for it.
Correct. Yeah, we've, even, same thing in Pembroke, we don't have. The bus drivers that used to do the co-curricular trips are no longer with us, and none of the other bus drivers are interested in doing after school sporting events, so.
So what parents have to figure out.
Flip them around.
A lot of carpooling.
Mhm.
We're very fortunate that there's parents that can do that and guardians in town that can do that.
It's really unfortunate.
Mm.
But Dale is always asking their drivers to do it.
Yeah.
They try.
Line 153, we increased that line to 9,000. This is for field trips. We're hoping to be able to provide, right now, we have one bus per year for each grade level, K to 8. And on average, a field trip is costing about $500. So our current budget allows us to give one bus, but our grades, now that we're back into post-COVID, a lot of grade levels are taking 2, if not more, field trips. And right now we're able to pay for the bus for one of them, but if they want to take a second field trip, that cost is incurred by families. Families have to pay for that. So if we can increase that line, we would like to do so. That would be a line that if we end up in a default, we'll end up back at $6,800.
Just curious, how come it's not double 6,800? So it's not, so 6,800 is actually a little bit more than one bus per grade level? If you're trying to double.
Right, because some buses, some of them are more than 500, some of them are less. So we try to do at least one field trip for every, like the advisories will go on more than one. They'll do more than one advisory. So if we can, we will help pay for that, offset the cost of that.
Because we get 6,800 in the default, so we just use it up and then
Just
whatever's
however, so
left,
there might
we
be
have
some
to
classes that go
charge.
more than once, but it's, yeah, whatever.
Mhm. Let's see, I might be done. Yep.
Any questions? Obviously, a limited presentation tonight, but stuff to get us started. Any questions from the board? Any questions from NBC members?
I do have some questions.
Do you wanna come up here? You don't have to.
That's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, no, you don't have
It's
to.
not bad.
Yeah.
Are you planning, this is, well, partially an NBC question. Are you planning to participate in the CIP review?
I don't know about this.
What am I saying? CIP? Yeah, capital.
Capital improvement plan.
Yeah, capital improvement plan.
For the planning board?
Yeah, I mean, I think the CIP, does it not include the school?
It does.
That's
We thought
what I thought.
We thought we were participating. We have not heard.
Yeah.
We haven't heard
Yeah.
anything.
Spoiler alert.
We're hearing.
It's happening?
Yeah, no, the planning board is taking that up this year.
Oh, okay, yeah, yes, great, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just make sure we give Chris plenty of notice, that he can get ready for it and prepare whatever we need to contribute for our chapters.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, on the small stuff, caption, FY 25-26 proposed operating budget, operating default budge. At the top of the page, budge.
I think it might not fit. Where is it?
It's 42 something.
Digit.
One says bid.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the other one, budget. You have budget and budge,
Oh, up here.
so those are just typos, I'm sure. Yeah, one of the comments you made, Ms. Sherman,
Yes, sorry.
made me think, there must be a way to parse these account numbers. Is there a guide to parsing? I mean, you said at one point, you know,
The function code,
the
yeah.
third
Um,
tranche, if it begins with one, is people
Yeah.
payments. If it begins with three, it's vendor
Yeah,
payments.
yeah.
There must be a guide to how to
There's-
parse those account numbers.
There is an accounting, there are official accounting code handbooks, but it's huge and it's not always a direct translation to our budgets. So I don't know if Amber has a cheat sheet that's just particular to our
Yeah, well,
budgets. I can ask
I mean,
about
that
that.
was a nice, I mean, you know,
That was helpful, yeah.
yeah. So, and then a lot of these are fairly consistent, so it's
Yeah.
really just,
Yeah.
if there's a quick guide to that kind of thing, it'd be
Yeah, I'll
interesting.
ask Amber if we have it or if it would be easy enough to
No.
create.
Is this is DRA driven or DOE driven?
The codes,
Yeah.
it's it's accounting, universal for everyone.
AICPA?
I think so. I haven't looked at it in a very long time. I did see it at one point. But it was accounting practices and codes for all accounting.
Municipal?
I'm gonna check with Amber. I don't wanna lead you in the wrong direction.
I can check with Pete in May as well.
Okay.
What is 504?
Section 504 is accommodations for students with disabilities.
Different from special ed or special ed?
It is.
It's different.
You'll have to watch the special ed presentation.
I have not done that yet, but
Special
I,
ed's an IEP.
Some students can receive accommodations but not need specialized instruction.
gotcha.
That's.
Okay.
So it can
that's
be
the
like
difference.
functional, like they needed a different chair.
Or they don't
To be
see
able to
very, they don't see
participate.
well, so they need large print, or they don't hear well, so you have to have mic.
Which is not necessarily an IEP. but
Yeah,
it's an accommodation.
TTY versus IEP.
There you go.
Right? Okay. Oh, yeah, the $25,000 copier, Is that one copier, or is it a lot of copiers?
It's all of them.
All
of
the
them.
copiers.
Hmm.
One time, yeah, the other question, one of the questions I had. Early on, you talked about one time versus recurring expenses. I think you were talking about software. Or it was in the,
Math, when we talk about math.
Subscription?
yeah, the subscriptions, yeah. Yeah, there was, you were talking about there was, I think, educational software.
Mhm.
I have my note on it right now. Those are done annually, or are they done under multi-year contracts?
For copiers,
No, for the
education,
recurring versus,
every year we have to renew subscriptions, unless we buy a 2 or 3 year subscription, but
Right.
every year we renew the educational technology subscriptions, yep.
gotcha.
And there's always an increase. Almost always.
Keep your cash flow keeping going, come on. I think that's it. Those are the only questions I have. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, anything else on the budget? Okay. Space Needs Committee, so I put this on because I think we had the presentation, you were not here, I don't think. The most recent presentation on space needs, which was very helpful, I appreciate that. But I think what we didn't do and what we need to do is sort of decide, the board needs to decide what we're doing and give the Space Needs Committee direction. Because I think where we left it was sort of like, we'll keep exploring things and then circle back, which I don't think is a really great way to spend the Space Committee's time. So I think traditionally the Space Needs Committee was a much bigger group that had community members, it had staff involved, admin.
Facilities.
And so I think the board needs to decide what we want the Space Needs Committee to be and what we want to direct them to do. I think where most of us are stuck right now is that I think a lot of us recognize that there may not be a huge appetite for big expenditures. And so then we're sort of, where do we go from here? And I think the question that I have for the board is, do we go anywhere with the Space Needs Committee right now? My perspective is that if we're not moving forward with an expansion at this point, then I don't know that a Space Needs Committee is necessary until the board feels ready to pursue that. Obviously, the space in the school, we have talked about a lot, we've done a lot of tours, but I think is ultimately the job of the administration to figure out where you guys want to put things, how you want to utilize the space, and then your job is to come to the board and tell us what you need, and then we try to solve that problem for you, versus us creating new problems for administration by giving them directives on how to use space. That's my perspective. So looking for input from the board and where we want to go, what we want to do, what we want the Space Needs Committee to be. Nate.
I guess I think I agree in part with what you're saying, but at the same time, I can't imagine if the administration had or druthers, they would prefer to have modulars and not enough wiring in the building to make the, technology work.
What do you mean?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know that, I guess, maybe I'm saying that the lack of request from the administration to fix the modular problem which I think we all agree is a problem, but I don't know that the lack of request can be interpreted as a lack of desire to not have the modulars and to have enough space in the building to have all students inside the envelope of our building.
Well, I
Per
think
code.
that's sort of a fundamental question is it a priority for the board to get rid of the modulars and to bring all students in the building as it currently stands? Or is it the priority to increase the envelope of the building and then get rid of the modulars? I think those are two different questions. Like, is the priority get rid of the modulars no matter what? Or is the priority increase our educational space so that we can get rid of the modulars?
And I don't know that that's a question we can leave up to that's not the
No, I
administration's
know.
position to make that decision. That's the
No.
board's decision.
I totally agree with you. That is the board's decision. What I think the board shouldn't be doing is saying, this is your space, this is how you must use it. Or, we want to see this classroom in the modulars instead of this classroom.
We could hypothetically ask, what would it look like
Yes.
if we were to say no more modulars and we were to try to squeeze all of those students into this building, what would that look like? And
For sure.
I can imagine what that answer would be. I don't know if that requires a lot of work. It would be chaos and not desirable, I don't think, for anybody.
But I do think there is, in the community, a desire to get rid of the modulars
Right.
as a concept
Right.
without increasing educational space. I think there's an idea that there is enough physical space in this building. And it is priority number one to get rid of the modulars.
Right.
And I don't think that would be in line with what the administration and teachers would be requesting.
So maybe what I think I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what are tools that we can find that would help us make this decision? And maybe this is something we've talked about a number of years ago, it hadn't come up in a while, but in businesses, I'm sure this is true in businesses, but it's also true in a lot of school districts, some sort of a strategic plan. Like, how do you, and I don't know that we need to do an official strategic plan, but part of that is getting a pulse of what does the community want? You're right, they want two things and they are not compatible with each other. And so we know that they're not compatible with each other, but the community doesn't know that. And so is there some sort of a process that I don't want to get into a full-on, but maybe it is time to actually do, maybe that's the question, is how do we actually get on the same page with the community and go through that sort of process to be speaking the same language? And this is a whole societal commentary that I'm not trying to get into right now, but we are all speaking different languages. And how can we decide if the community wants these different things, but they don't sort of see how those connect? And I'm generalizing grossly here, but I don't know. But maybe something like that, like an actual strategic plan or something, would be a way to get a little more, which is something we've been talking about. How do we communicate more? And
I mean,
I don't know.
it's so challenging because we have done how many presentations, we have done how many guided walkthroughs of the building, and we unfortunately can't get that many people to come.
Well, and we get suggestions that when we really look into it, really aren't viable. Like I think about one last time was to buy a building, and I looked into it, it's like $580,000, and it's not even set up for what you would need it for. So it's hard when you keep getting suggestions and you keep trying to do a presentation to show that that's really not a viable suggestion, but we keep getting those suggestions. Like, well, if you just move everything around a little bit in the school, you can fit everybody in. Well, you can't. I mean, even if we did move the preschool, that's one classroom. We have 3 classrooms out there, plus staff that are taking over, another part. So how can you deal with that? That's to me, that's the big problem. I mean, I have tried really hard being part of the space community to listen to what everybody has said and to look at it and to review it and to see what's the case, And I just don't find that that's the case. I mean, even like the last one was about, well, why do we have 2 music and why do we have 2 art? I did research. I looked at every single school. I went on the DOE website. Well, it's called something else now, but anyway, I went on their website.
MEGD.
Okay, it'll take me a while to get that. But I found every school that's similar to us, a K through 8 school with a similar population, 5 schools, and we have the highest population. And out of those 5 schools, 2 have 2 users. The others don't, but they're less population also. So it's like, and I'm sure that with our programs, we are giving things that those schools are not. Like we have band, we have chorus, we have things that I'm sure those schools don't. So then you have to weigh in there too, the importance of what it is that we're giving by having the extra ones. But how do we get that out there? So it's like, yeah, so that we're talking the same language, because I mean, I've really been trying to listen to what everybody says and do the research and do the grunt. I have spent hours going back and looking at all this stuff, comparing things. And I'm not seeing what people want. They think there's this magical thing where we can move them around and get everybody in here. I don't see it.
And so to some extent, I think if we wait and we try to make decisions based on predicting or trying to sense what the community wants, we end up getting nowhere. So I think that is, and the other side of this is that we are elected to make these decisions. And so,
Right.
you know, so.
That's why I think
so it
the
could
board
be-
needs to figure out
Yeah.
what the priority is.
Right, we
and
could
what
make
direction.
decisions to cut down the number of our programs. We could make those, we could cut music from our program. We could make those decisions. Right now is budget season. We can make those decisions. Do we want to? It doesn't sound like this board wants to do that. And so in terms of what would be realistic, what we could do, maybe there is no way to go with a big, addition. So maybe the question more is looking at what can we do for
yeah.
baby steps?
I
and
think
what
we
can
need
look
to-
for-
If we are going to go ahead with some sort of addition, it's got to be a small addition. It's got to be minimal. It's got to be just minimal what we need.
I think you need to, where you're thought about a strategic plan, even if it's for one topic. My suggestion is to backwards plan, because the end of that project got so rushed and wanted it on the warrant, didn't want to wait another year, and all of a sudden we got a number at the last minute of 40-something million, and on the warrant it goes. And if you start now and backwards plan, say, okay, in March of whatever year, this is when we want the next warrant on. So then you back up, what are you gonna do for the next several years to get that to be, ready for voting? And how much work it is and how many hours you have to spend. So giving yourself that time to be thoughtful and, to work with our architects and bring them back. And, they had another plan ready for us to, hey, look at this. And they gave that, and then we sort of just abandoned
We
ship
didn't
on
do
that.
anything
Yeah.
on it.
So bringing them back to explain what we want and what we would be looking.
Oh, I think as a board, we need to decide what we want. Like, what are the most important things? Like, the things that speak to me, I'm just talking me, not the board, is that there should be an art and music downstairs. Library maybe should be downstairs too if it's used, right? And then, so those are like the important things to me. And then having enough classrooms that we can have everybody in. Like, that's kind of minimal. That's very minimal.
Yeah, but I think, so it sounds like the board wants to move forward with an expansion, which is different than what the board has decided so far. Like every time we've had this discussion, it's sort of like, well, let's check into all of these things. So I think if the board,
But I think we did that. I mean,
yes,
so we
I don't
did check
disagree with
into
you.
all of
I
those
don't
things.
disagree. But I think we need to sort of commit. Like if we want to move forward, we have to start doing that process instead of just sort of bringing it up if we feel like it. As people make public comments, and then we add it to the next agenda. So I think as a board, if we decide we are moving forward with an expansion idea, then yes, I think we should make a plan.
And even if now is not, I agree that people right now are not looking to spend, that's not, but even if we start now, it wouldn't be on the March ballot for three or 4 years.
Yeah, there's like
So
multiple years.
it's gonna have to start
If you're
now.
looking at 4 or 5 years.
And think about maybe in 4 years, maybe there'll be more of an appetite for that kind of a thing, but the work has to start now to get to 4 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the conversation that I wanted to have is, are we committed to moving forward with an expansion, or are we committed to status quo with the modulars?
Are you looking for a motion right now? Just leave us here.
I don't
We should
think-
talk about
I
it again. with
feel
yeah.
like
everyone
we
here.
need to talk about that with everybody here.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I just
I wouldn't
want
feel
to put
comfortable
it
making
out that like
decision
we
with us
need
three.
to commit to a plan or not. Like either we're going to figure out what we're doing,
Live with
or
what we
we're, or
have,
we're
or-
living with the modulars. But I think the constant being like, let's reevaluate, let's think about changing these classrooms around, like, I think that is an exhausting process that doesn't really get us.
But I think it needed to be done. Because I don't think you can sit there and say, no, that can't happen, that can't happen. I mean, like, you know, we figured out how many kids can be in each classroom. If we move those kids from 3 to 2, what would it be? Above state, standards, like, we can't do it.
Yeah.
But we had to do that because we kept having people say, put more kids in the classroom, eliminate them, well, we can't.
Yeah, and I think part of what's very hard about our current board is that we are all very new. So we weren't around the first time when all of this was
Yeah,
available.
I mean, maybe that was done before, but I just feel like that's what I keep hearing, Nate smiling, so maybe you guys did that before, so, I don't know.
Even I know that.
Yeah, I think that's what feels complicated, is that prior boards have done a lot of this work and we're not privy to that. So we sort of feel like we're starting over, and then
But
it's
that
just,
has to be made public, is my point. So if
Yeah.
you were privy to it, I guess maybe you did it, made it public, but I didn't see it in the stuff that I saw. So that has to be made public. We did do that. We are listening to you. We did look into it. It's not possible.
And I think it's important also not to, yes, it ended up being right at the end rushed, and I think 45 minute lobby, we know how that went. But to then, after the argument that we tried to make that the school needs this, to then just drop it also sort of pokes a big hole in the argument we were trying to make. So I think it's important. I think it's a great idea. I still do.
I mean, because
45 is too
we've
much.
gone 3 years and we're,
Yeah.
we're still.
But to
getting
just
by,
drop
but-
it, right? I think it is, the school needs it. And so I
I
would love
mean,
to hear us
it-
coming back to doing that. Yeah.
I don't think you can look at the modulars and say this is
I
the
do.
best that we can do in this
Right.
town, right? So
Exactly.
I agree. I mean, I think,
And the number of regulations that were grandfathered to
Yeah.
break essentially.
Yes, we are breaking a lot of grandfather things.
I also want to say that, people obviously had big feelings about the $45 million price tag. What I will just say is that it's uncommon for a school to present a project for the first time and have it be approved by the voters. Like, it is very common that this happens multiple times. There are multiple versions. I remember this in my hometown. We built a high school and it took, I think, 10 years for it to get approved finally by
I
the
think the
voters.
original school, this school, it took quite a while, didn't it? Nancy's here, she knows.
So
It took like 6 years, I think, before it finally got approved.
I think people felt defeated, and I think that there were a lot of feelings toward the board and about the expansion, but this is just how things happen. Like, we have to keep trying, we have to keep going. If the board feels like this is strongly needed, we need to keep going.
Yes.
We'll bring it up again.
Mm.
More board members.
Excellent.
Anything else? We don't have enough of it.
No, but I did the question.
Not on the agenda.
It's not. It's on my sticky note. I keep forgetting about. So I heard from Concord and they are working on a student report for us. So that used to be in our old contract, but they still felt like they wanted to get us some data, and which I thought was generous of them. It's almost in draft form for me to review. They would like to know when you want them to come and go over that report. So the principal and the curriculum director wanted to come and show you and share your data for how our students are doing at Concord High. But I, looked ahead and, okay, well, we've got budget tonight, we've got budget next time, and budget goes to NBC pretty quickly after that. So I don't know if you want to make time at one of your meetings, if you want to add a meeting, if you want to tell them we're going to push this off until January.
When did we do it last year?
How
I
long,
think they came earlier. I think
Oh,
they came
got it.
before we started budget.
Got it.
and how long is the presentation?
As long
It
as
was
you
fairly
can,
long.
yeah, I mean, you
I
can
mean,
give them direction.
I think if we made it a shorter presentation, and we could even, we could do something where they come at 5:30, we could do a meeting sort of little. I hate to push them off.
Yeah,
The
I agree.
data
It's-
is data now, and if you push them off, it's gonna be old data,
I
and
think it would be great. And that's a good, we have done that before, started meetings a half hour early if that, I don't know if that works for this current board. But we could do like 5:30 to 6:30. max of an hour. And then be ready to start the board meeting. The
Do
rest
they
of the
usually
business.
have that much information when it's an hour?
I mean, we
That
could
sounds
tell
down.
them a half hour and then allow, if there are questions.
I mean, I don't know, you guys have had these before.
You were here last.
There have,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
it's been done,
remember,
it's
yeah.
been done differently and
Tim
it's,
was here and
they,
Kathy.
they sort of,
We
for
were asking about
several,
graduation stuff and.
for several years
Maybe
in a
you weren't at the
row.
meeting.
I haven't missed a meeting, so I don't know.
Oh, for several years in a row, we had the data given to us, and then they would come and go over the data, and I think we got to the point where this is great, but it's just, yeah, we're just getting our data, and they're very willing to come in and talk. They were willing to bring students again like they did last time, because they kind of deviated from data and said, let's hear from your students. So they're open to whatever you want and for the amount of time you want. So if you want them to come in and talk about the data and the report,
Was that last year in the cafeteria when they had all that?
2 years ago.
I'm just trying to remember. if I'm
Yeah,
sure
I was not on the
it's-
board at then,
See,
but I did come.
see, I wasn't going insane.
No, the last year it was just Tim and Kathy here with packet.
Getting old.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because,
Short-term memory's going.
I wouldn't do it at the next meeting when Amber's doing the full budget.
right.
That's gonna be a pretty packed.
I don't know that it would impact families when they're making high school decisions.
I don't think so.
That would be my only concern, is that do we put on a meeting for our magical 5th Wednesday of the month, which I would vote no.
I agree with you. I agree unanimously.
It's been a real heavy meeting
Don't
month
get too many free nights.
with the SAU and NBC starting. I would maybe, so could we do? Yeah.
If they're able, I need to ask if they're able.
Yeah.
So November 20th,
Otherwise, I would say,
5:30,
sure.
and I'll tell them a max of 30 minutes,
30 minutes?
right?
60? Okay.
And then, I can't imagine they would need to present more than 30.
Oh,
And then
no.
allow
Seems
time
like
for
only
questions and
30
answers.
minutes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then our regular meeting starts at 6.
Well, I think half an hour and then some questions.
Yeah,
maybe
if there are
some
questions,
conversation.
it can go
Yeah, it goes a
over,
little
yeah.
bit later,
Yeah, I like
it's fine.
So would you like them to go over the data, since some of you are newer? Go over the report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the 20th or December. I hesitate for the 4th because that's our final budget night.
Right.
But the 18th we could do, which is the second meeting in December. Okay,
Move to adjourn.
second.
Public comments?
Now I'm back on the schedule.
Schedule.
We could make an exception if you would like another public comment.
I would love that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I need to withdraw my
Withdraw your
We
motion.
didn't vote on it, so it's just pending motion.
I thought it was really terrific that you're taking a long-term view on addressing space needs. I think it's critical to make time your friend. And I'm glad because in that period of time, we're not only going to do the CIP process, but the master plan process as well. That's getting rolled out, so there'll be an opportunity to sort of get a lot of information on the table. A couple times tonight, you mentioned $45 million as the number of the last proposal. The total number was in the 50s, and that was just principal, and interest added to $78 million for a town of 5,000 people. Would have been by far the largest, by a factor of $10 million, the largest bond on the New Hampshire Bond Bank's books, and entirely unsustainable by this town, just reality-wise. And this is for 30% of the families in the town. So I would beg that you keep the whole town in mind when you do that. Keep the financial realities in mind when you do that. I don't know where the audits are, but you couldn't have done it last time anyway, because you didn't have audited financials. Okay, you wouldn't have gone to market. So there are a lot of sort of reality guidelines that you can use to help you get to a passable idea. But you got to take those into account, because otherwise it rolls into fear world. I mean, people were scared when that that proposal came up. So, use what you've got, use everything you've got, and get the bond bank on your side for a project number that you can afford, the town can afford, which leaves room also for things like roads. I mean, the road agent may want to bond, $5 or $10 million this year to do a road project, which, I know there've been public discussions. That's how you should do your roads. Okay, so it's two executive bodies, but it's one legislative body in this town, and it's only one pot of money, and so you got to make it all work. And so I hope you'll keep that in mind when you do consider it. And I think you've got the time frame to do it, and the other things going on that will help make it a much more doable kind of thing, and keep people less afraid when it comes up. Thank you for the exception.
Thank you. All right. There is a pending motion on the table to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See ya, Arrow.
Yeah, sure.